The question be now put.
Call Dr. Russell Norman.
Mr. Chair, I rise to speak on the title clause of this, the Warner Brothers bill that we have before us. Mr. Speaker, I rise to speak to what sadly has become the Warner Brothers Parliament, because we're sitting tonight at the behest of the Warner Brothers, because Warner Brothers want to push this through the House.
Order. The member was pulled up during the second reading of the bill. I'm on my feet. There is a Speaker's ruling 52.1, which makes it very clear that while you can say Warner Brothers may influence an outcome, they can't say that they were directed. It's quite a good paragraph the member might like to refer to. It's Speaker's ruling 52.1.
Thank you, Mr.
Dr. Russell Norman.
I apologise to the member. Mr. Speaker, I think the Speaker's ruling refers to members and to parties. I'm not sure if it refers to the Parliament, Mr. Speaker, which I've never heard that expression before.
It brings, by referring to Parliament, it brings the members within Parliament into that frame. Dr. Russell Norman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Warner Brothers have clearly had some influence, as the Speaker's ruling allow me to say.
Did they buy the naming rights?
Did they buy the naming rights? They've had tremendous influence on this bill, and the fact that the Parliament tonight is meeting under urgency in order to deal with this bill that would benefit Warner Brothers. It seems to me that we've become used to corporate welfare. Corporate welfare has become well known across the planet, but corporate welfare used to involve just money. Right, okay, on this occasion it's $100 million. The National Party have added an extra $33 million to the previous level of corporate welfare. But corporate welfare used to just mean money. But corporate welfare now means...
Title.
Corporate welfare now means that if this is the Warner Brothers Employment Relations Bill, that not only are Warner Brothers actually getting money, they are also getting a change in the New Zealand Industrial Relations Law. It is an entirely new level of the meaning of corporate welfare. And if this bill, the Warner Brothers Employment Relations Amendment Bill, actually sets a new standard globally for changing legislation for a sovereign democratic parliament, for changing legislation in a way that would suit a corporate multinational, this is an entirely new level. So tonight, when we're debating this bill under urgency, under a bill that has had been influenced by Warner Brothers, as I'm allowed to say under the standing orders, a bill that has been influenced by Warner Brothers, we are debating this bill under urgency. It's not just about money. It used to be just about money. All taxpayers have to put their hand in their pocket to provide corporate welfare. It is now also, under the Warner Brothers Employment Relations Amendment Bill, as I would like to rename it, it is now also about changing the very legislation under which our country is governed. It is a whole new level of altering the basic relationships between a people and their government. Because the relationship between a people and their government in a democratic system is supposed to be one where there is a representation. But under this bill, the Employment Relations Warner Brothers Bill, as I think it should be renamed, in fact, Warner Brothers are interfering in the relationship between a people and their government. It is a fundamental transgression of the idea of sovereignty in our country for us to rewrite industrial relations law for the benefit of Warner Brothers. There is another title you could come up with this bill. The National Party have said they don't like to lead on climate change. We will not be leaders on climate change, they tell us. However, they are willing to be leaders on the race to the bottom. So we could call it the race to the bottom industrial relations law. We are leading in the global race to the bottom to make Warner Brothers happy by weakening our industrial relations laws so that we can make Warner Brothers happy. So if we were to call it the Employment Relations Race to the Bottom Amendment Bill, we could say that the National Party are finally leading on something. Not leading on climate change, not leading on anything else, but they're finally leading on the race to the bottom to weaken our industrial relations law for the benefit of a corporate multinational. Mr Speaker, we are sitting under urgency tonight to deal with this bill, the title clause of which we're debating, the Employment Relations Warner Brothers Amendment Bill. We are meeting under urgency tonight under the influence of Warner Brothers, as I'm allowed to say, under the Speaker's rulings, in order to ram this bill through so that it becomes the law of the land in what is supposedly a democratic and sovereign country. It is embarrassing. It is unacceptable. It is a fundamental transgression of the idea of a democratic sovereignty, and the National Party should be ashamed of themselves. Now, the Green Party joins with the Labor Party and others in welcoming the fact that The Hobbit will be filmed and based in New Zealand. I would note that Avatar was also actually based in New Zealand, and under the existing Labor relations regime, there was no need to change the Labor relations regime. I would remind the National Party that the Avatar was actually about an environmental issue. You might have heard of the environment in the National Party, and that was a great success. It was actually a story of a people fighting against a giant corporation, not unlike the Warner Brothers. We would like to rename this bill the Employment Relations Warner Brothers Amendment Bill. And in Avatar, which was successfully filmed in New Zealand under the existing industrial relations framework, it was a people that were being attacked by a giant corporation that sought to take over their planet. It is not entirely unlike the attack that Warner Brothers have launched, whereby they have got the government to change the law on their behalf.